In the peaceful town of Lafayette, California, a brutal crime shattered the peace when 52-year-old Pamela Vitale, wife of high-profile attorney Daniel Horowitz, was found murdered in their secluded home. The alleged perpetrator? Their 16-year-old neighbor Scott Dyleski. As the horrific details of the crime emerged, a disturbing obsession with violence and human anatomy came to light, captivating the nation. During the trial, Dyleski's affinity for goth culture was underscored with references to an episode of the Nickelodeon television show Invader Zim that allegedly fueled his fascination with human organs.
Authorities say the suspect carved a Gothic symbol, reports say a Lorraine cross, into Vitale's body, a symbol which represents the struggle between good and evil, God and Satan. Some describe it as a Gothic signature.
His name is Scott Dyleski. His 2005 high school yearbook photo shows the young man with long hair and eye makeup.
Our story starts in 1988 in San Francisco, California, where Scott Dyleski was born to parents Kenneth Dyleski and Esther Fielding. From a young age, Scott exhibited a keen intellect and a love for reading. However, his childhood was marked by a series of challenges, including his parents' divorce when he was just a toddler. Raised primarily by his mother Esther, Scott's upbringing was anything but conventional. Scott and his mother moved frequently across Northern California, living in challenging conditions often without basic amenities. By the 6th grade, Dyleski and his mother had moved to Lafayette, a suburb of San Francisco, where they lived in sleeping bags on the property of his mother's friends, Fred and Kim Curiel. Fred eventually built them a lean-to shack made of straw and mud. For years, Scott lived without electricity, plumbing, heat, or running water, and could only shower once a week at the homes of his mother's friends. Equally disturbing is the fact that Ken Dyleski, Scott's father, never offered his home to Scott during any of these times. A referral for general neglect and another for emotional abuse were made to Children and Family Services, but were never investigated, leading to the case being closed. In 2002, Scott experienced tragedy when his half-sister was killed in this bizarre car accident. It turned out the driver was trying to commit suicide. Both Scott's sister and another passenger, who were unaware of the suicide attempt, lost their lives. Dyleski started consistently dressing in black following his sister's funeral, as well as displaying a strong fascination with goth culture. Dyleski went on to high school at Okolani's in Lafayette, where he was known for being artistic and somewhat introverted. He was involved in poetry and art, showing a creative side. Peers described him as intelligent, but also noted that he sometimes struggled to fit in socially. Scott soon dropped out of high school after his sophomore year and was getting his GED certificate during the summer of 2005 so that he could attend Diablo Valley College in the fall and study art. Around this time, Dyleski began dating a girl named Jenna Reddy. The couple experimented with absinthe, a potent spirit made from wormwood that can cause hallucinations in some individuals. While under its influence, they engaged in discussions about dark and morbid topics, including Jack the Ripper, other serial killers, and various methods of killing people. They specifically talked about breaking the necks of children and expressed curiosity about how the human body would function without certain organs. What may have been the last thing keeping his sanity intact was the divorce of Scott's father and stepmother on October 12th. A few days later, he would go on to commit one of the most diabolical acts the county has ever experienced. Daniel Horowitz and his wife Pamela Vitale lived on a secluded hill at 1901 Hunsucker Canyon Road in Lafayette. They were in the midst of building their dream home, a project that was expected to take years. During construction, they resided in a mobile home on the property. Horowitz, a prominent attorney in the Bay Area, was defending Susan Polk in a highly publicized murder case. Susan Polk was accused of fatally stabbing her husband, Felix Polk. Although she admitted to the crime, she claimed it was an act of self-defense after enduring years of abuse. Horowitz's wife, Pamela Vitale, was still asleep when he left on the morning of October 15th. Throughout the day, Horowitz tried to call her but couldn't reach her. Upon returning home, he noticed smears on the front door. As he opened the front door, his wife Pamela was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. It was obvious to him from her appearance, and the amount of blood he could see that she was dead. He called 911 from inside the house, and then returned to Vitale's body, and cried and screamed, which neighbors recounted hearing.
Hello, 911. Hello, what's going on there?
Oh, my wife's dead.
What?
I gotta get somebody to help.
What's going on there?
Come, please, I gotta look at it.
What's going on there?
Oh, God, Pamela! 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 Pamela, please! Oh, my God!
Story, she's in Lafayette with a grieving husband's account of his wife's murder. Juliet?
Well, Ken, tonight, Daniel Horowitz, a prominent lawyer who defends high-profile murder cases, is tonight sharing his grief about the murder of his own wife.
I saw her hand, and I just knew from what I know that she wasn't alive. And then I just know that I peeled out my phone, and I knew I had to call the police.
Daniel Horowitz says he discovered his wife's body Saturday evening, lying on the floor near their television set with a large gash on her head. The front door was wide open, furniture shuffled around, and the TV moved about 2 feet. All indications his wife put up a fight before being killed. Horowitz told the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, "She fought like hell."
There was blood everywhere as Pamela had been brutally beaten 39 times with a piece of crown molding from the construction work. Chillingly, a Gothic symbol was also carved into Vitale's back, as well as a deep cut into her stomach, exposing some of her organs apparently while she was still alive. During the investigation into Pamela's murder, police were informed by neighbors about ongoing credit card fraud. This prompted Scott's friend, Robin, to come forward. In an effort to avoid accusations related to the murder, Robin quickly confessed to the credit card scheme, revealing that he and Dyleski were planning to grow marijuana. He informed the police that it was Scott who had stolen the neighbor's credit card information. Police discovered that Scott had attempted to order expensive grow lights 2 days before the murder, but the company denied the transaction because the billing and shipping addresses did not match. The police also learned that the shipping address on the order was Daniel and Pamela's residence. Seeing that there could be a connection to the murder, the Contra Costa Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant at the home of Scott Dyleski and his mother, Esther Fielding. The detectives located a duffel bag in a van owned by his mother that contained a pair of gloves, a jacket, and a ski mask. DNA of both Pamela Vitale and Scott Dyleski was found on the items. Scott was then arrested and charged with the murder of Pamela Vitale.
After 5 days of almost nonstop work by Contra Costa County detectives, it appears the murder of Pamela Vitale has some answers.
At 10 p.m. last night, the 16-year-old was arrested for murder.
They were already involved in some sort of plot. They were going to grow marijuana for sale, and the suspect's job was to raise capital.
The young suspect apparently ordered supplies and had them delivered to the address where high-profile defense attorney Daniel Horowitz and his wife live. According to the paper, the supplies never arrived. However, the teenager went to the house on Saturday to find them and instead got into a confrontation with Vitale.
When taken into custody, Scott stood 5'11" and weighed 110 pounds. He was covered in scratches and bruises indicative of a struggle. Dyleski was charged with first-degree murder and held on a $1 million bail. Despite being only 16 at the time, Scott was formally charged as an adult.
It is obvious, independent of the attention that this case has brought, that this is a brutal homicide, and because he is very close to his 17th birthday, we believe that it's a situation where he is not entitled to the protections afforded him under the juvenile law, and it's appropriate to prosecute him as an adult, and that's what we've done.
Investigators had also arrested Fielding on suspicion of being an accessory to murder. That charge was dropped after she promised to testify truthfully against her son. "I pretty much burned evidence that was burnable," Fielding said, adding that she destroyed a diary and other books on murder because I thought it could be misconstrued. Scott was appointed a public defender and went on to plead not guilty. Due to the sensational media coverage of the case, the court issued a gag order on all trial-related information, the first such order in this county in 40 years. Scott's public defender argued that he was not guilty, and that the evidence was purely circumstantial. They criticized the prosecution's reliance on the theory of demonic influence, claimed there were other suspects, and questioned the forensic evidence linking Dyleski to the crime. The defense also depicted Dyleski as a troubled young man with mental health issues, suggesting he was not fully responsible for his actions. The prosecution, on the other hand, highlighted Dyleski's interest in Goth and Satanic culture as part of their argument. They suggested that his involvement in these subcultures played a role in his motivations. They presented evidence indicating that Dyleski was influenced by themes of violence and rebellion commonly associated with Goth and Satanic imagery. Most notably, they connected the carving in Pamela's back similar to a Gothic symbol. Prosecutor Harold Jewett tried to establish that the symbol found on the victim's back closely resembled the letter H in the word hate from a bumper sticker reading, "I'm for the separation of church and hate," which was seized from Dyleski's bedroom. During the trial, the prosecution also brought up the Invader Zim episode Dark Harvest, where the alien character Zim harvests human organs from children in an attempt to appear more human. Apparently, Scott had joked with friends about the specific episode. The prosecution asserted that Dyleski had a fascination with images of body parts and violence, alleging the Dark Harvest episode may have inspired or fueled his obsession with human anatomy that culminated in the brutal murder and disembowelment of Pamela Vitale. Perhaps one of the most crucial people the prosecution called to the stand was Jenna Reddy, Scott's girlfriend. She provided crucial insights into his behavior and actions surrounding the murder of Pamela Vitale. Although he never admitted to the murder, he never denied it either, later telling her he would take the fall to protect her and his friend Robin.
Jenna Reddy testified against Dyleski, her former boyfriend, and attended today's sentencing. She says she's still in shock.
He was a wonderful friend that I do appreciate knowing, and he helped me through a lot of trouble in my life.
Visibly shaken in court, Reddy recounted conversations where Dyleski spoke about the thrill of committing a crime and showed a disturbing fascination with violence. Jenna concluded by saying that mostly everything discussed about violence, murder, and torture was hypothetical. DNA evidence linking Scott Dyleski to the murder of Pamela Vitale included blood from Vitale found on a duffel bag, glove, and mask. His DNA was found on the bottom of her foot, along with shoe prints at the scene matching Scott's shoes. A chilling to-do list that included cutting up and burying someone after kidnapping the person to access his or her bank account was found in his room. After a month of trial in August 2006, Dyleski was found guilty of all charges. The jury determined that he had committed the murder while engaged in a residential burglary, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Dyleski showed no emotion as the sentence was read this afternoon. He will not be eligible for parole. Judge Barbara Zuniga called Dyleski evil and ignored pleas for mercy by his family and friends.
But that's not the end of the story. In 2017, Dyleski's sentence was reduced to 25 years to life in prison due to California's Senate Bill 394, which allows juveniles sentenced to life without parole a chance for eventual freedom. Under this law, Scott Dyleski will become eligible for parole in 2030. Thank you for watching Deadly DNA. Subscribe for more true crime stories where we unravel the mysteries and reveal the truths behind the most chilling cases.